I've told you about the rough shape of the world that the Xerxes people live in, so now let's start talking about how they actually live in that world, starting with how families work. A lot of things change in the Xerxes world between summer and winter. The shape of their land changes, and so do their ways of keeping alive. So I thought, why not have their family structure change with the seasons too? The Xerxes recognise each person as having two families, their summer family and their winter family. The summer family is matrilineal. It's known as the Alkinsi. There are usually about 20 people in an Alkinsi, but I'm only going to show a few here. Every child lives with their mother, called Mesa or Memsi. Their grandmother is the head of the house, the Alkelna or Alna, or Heina Kelna if you're being really formal. Their mothers and grandmothers' sisters are all considered aunts, called Pesha, and their brothers are uncles, or Teti. All of the young girls in the summer family are considered sisters, or Tharai. But the situation is different for boys. Girls will call all the young boys of their generation Sasha, whether they are cousins or brothers. Boys, however, will call their brothers Keri and their cousins Sasha. This is because they spend all year with their brothers and only the summer with their cousins. Girls, however, spend only the summer with both brothers and cousins after a certain age, so they usually don't differentiate, unless they're very young. The winter family, on the other hand, is patrilineal. When winter comes, mothers will take their children to their father's herding family, known as the Hinsi. A Hinsi usually has 50 to 60 people in it. Their father is their Hante, or Hansi. The oldest man in the winter family is considered their grandfather, even if genetically he isn't. He's called Hakelna, or Kelni. The adult men are all uncles, Lukelni. Lukelna used to be a term for the second in command. It literally means second leader, as the Hakelna would choose another man, usually the oldest man in the generation below, to lead hunts and train the young boys. But it became used as a marker of respect, and then it displaced the original word for uncles. Their wives are called Hapesha. Their female children are called Anarai, which is also used as a general word for childhood friends. Their male children are called Tasha. When a boy becomes an adult, nothing much changes for him. Every summer he'll return home and work on the farm. When autumn comes, he may travel to nearby villages to find a girl to marry. In the winter, he'll go south with his father's family, herding their melfa through the mountains to find pasture, and hunting seals, whales and oxen. When a woman becomes an adult, she stops spending winters with her patrilineal family. During autumn, she'll find a young man she likes, usually a visitor from another village, and she'll spend the winter with him and his family. They become her new Hinsi. Most women spend a few years trying out different families and different men. When she has spent 6 winters with the same Hinsi, she is considered married and ready to have children. A husband calls his wife his Kora, and she calls him her Palu. She refers to most of her new winter family the way her husband refers to them. His brothers are her Keri. His father is her Hante. The wives of the brothers are called Antharai, snow sisters. A woman's job in the winter is mostly to fish, to take care of children, and to produce material goods like woven fabrics and pottery. The women of one winter family might come from very different areas to each other, so regional styles often spread across Xerxes through the women. The distribution of women also creates webs of affection between families. If your summer family is struggling with low crops, then you can draw on the winter families of all the women for help. A summer family calls its network of allied winter families its Teshna, and each individual allied winter family is a Tetashna. A son is Akku, and a daughter is Ta, though more cutesy names are Aki and Tafi. Common nicknames for children are Memeli and Sisaka, which are similar to calling the children little melfa or chubby little seals, but with some of the letters mixed up so you don't accidentally turn your child into a foal or a seal. You should never name your children something that sounds like a plant. At least if they turn into a seal pup you can protect them, but if they turn into a plant they're much more vulnerable. Of course this never happened, but it sticks around as a superstition. Sex is forbidden during summer, and also just impractical, so nearly all children are conceived in autumn. This means that the most physically demanding periods of pregnancy happen during the spring, when food is becoming more abundant. Most births happen at the start of summer, when the mother is back at her own matrilineal home and can feel most comfortable, and lots of food can be ready for the child. You might be wondering what happens to people who aren't straight. Well, the sexy don't really distinguish between gender and sex. So gender is physically determined, but physical forms can be changed. If someone's born female, they can dress as a man and act as a man, and then the goddess in the sky will come to see them as a man. And then after a while, maybe a year or so, he'll wake up physically changed. If two people of the same gender fall in love, one is expected to change sex. That way the family system stays stable. When people die, inheritance isn't a big issue. The leadership of the Winter family and ownership of the herd is passed down the male line, but everyone already kind of shared ownership of them, so nothing much changes. The same goes for the house and the female line. People don't have very many personal belongings. When they die, most of their belongings are shared out among whatever family they're currently with, though there are certain belongings that are passed to their mother, their children, and their spouse, no matter what. After a spouse dies, a man might remarry, but a woman normally doesn't, since at that point she's usually bonded quite closely with the Winter family of her husband. If there's a widowed man and a widowed woman in the same Winter family, they often marry each other. I'm not really sure how this style fits into traditional typology of descent and marriage systems. I think the descent is bilineal, but that really only fits well for men, since women are considered part of their husband's lineage rather than their father's. The residency is virilocal in winter, matrilocal in summer, which I guess would count as ambilocal? It's kind of messy, but no more messy than real systems. But Circe don't see their families that way, obviously. Ask a Circe person about their family, and they'll say they belong to the house of the oldest woman in their summer family, and belong to the herd of the oldest man in their winter family. But really, they're in the family of all Circe. The network of winter and summer families binds everyone together, as each house is a distant Titashna of every other.